Hello everyone and welcome back to Geotech Master. In today's video, we're discussing a crucial aspect of geotechnical investigations, figuring out the types of samples we need and how frequently we should collect them. In this episode, we'll be tackling some important questions like what types of samples are best for different soil and rock conditions? How often should we be taking samples to get a representative picture of the site? And what does representative mean in this context? Now, before we get started, this video builds upon the foundation we laid in our earlier course, Geotechnical Investigation Essentials. So if you haven't completed that yet, I would suggest you start there to get the most out of this series. So why sampling frequency matters? The first thing to remember is that we need to get representative samples. This means the samples we take need to be like a mini version of the soil or rock we're investigating. They should accurately reflect the conditions of the subsurface and be in the same state as the soil or rock in situ. If our samples aren't good, then any tests we do won't be worth much. In other words, our interpretations will be wrong, and our designs will be dodgy at best.